Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Darcy, and for the last few weeks, I've been sharing the ugly side of change, really powerful and personal and professional conversations about wisdom gained through changes that were anticipated or traumatic. And I was just wanting to extend an invitation for you to subscribe to my channel and stay informed about these powerful, insightful, healing conversations that I'm providing each week. So thanks so much, and make sure to subscribe under this. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here again this week with Rhonda, and we're going to talk all things money. And this is another powerful episode of The Ugly Side of Change. I think what resonated with me when I was looking at all your beautiful offerings is that, the financial aspects of change, it could be divorce or job loss or, high conflict divorce. There's always so much for the wholeness, like the mind, body, soul, spirit, emotion, mental, that the financial should be like up front, but I think it get kicked to the behind. Do you agree with that? Hi, Rhonda.
Yeah. Hi. Hi. I do. You know what? I do. I think that it's one of those things where if we don't know where to start, essentially we end up avoiding, hoping that somehow it's just going to all work itself out. And, particularly for the people that are going through divorce, those are the gals that I'm working with.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it comes back to bite them later because they're either feeling that they find themselves in situations where they're not being heard or they're being forced to be able to make decisions without having all of the information. I just got off the call with a woman that she lives in Florida. And Kristen, she was telling me a little bit about like the temporary hearing that they had, and they were going through and kind of nickel and diming all of her expenses. And the judge said, well, your expenses for your food is way more than I have for my kid, my whole family, and there's four of us. And so we think that you're going to be just fine.
Yeah. I experienced that too. It's the judgment. Oh my God. So of course they cut that. They did that to me also when we were going through the temporary orders. Like, no, that can't be true. Well, yeah, it is. We eat clean. We don't go out to eat. So there's really isn't a huge entertainment thing.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that for her. So what was your pearls of wisdom about that change for her?
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, right, the change is how can she be better prepared and better and show up even better for the next what's next, which for her, what's next is a mediation in 8 weeks from now. And so I'm going to be helping her not only crunch the numbers, but also kind of, I told her, I said, I got to give you the bumpers. Like, if you're bowling, right, we're going to put the bump, I got to keep you on the lane from the girl who, was in bowling leagues in, elementary school or whatever. Like, I
I
love it. I
love
have my
that
own.
analogy though,
Yeah.
because it's like you have the safety on both sides
Yes.
of you.
Yes. Yes. And if she can go into mediation knowing, okay, here, if they come anywhere in this range, I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to know that I've done the homework ahead of time and I'm confidently saying yes, right? So I think that's the biggest challenge a lot of times is these mediations or the proposals or the negotiating goes back and forth and women are like, I don't know. And, the attorneys are like, oh, yeah, you should take it. It's a good deal. And they leave there and then have buyer's remorse.
No, I think it's like drinking from the fire hose, right? Because you're sitting there, you're emotionally distraught, you're listening, and it's so intense. And if you have a high conflict personality, there's that also an underlying current of being threatened.
Yeah.
So it's so important to build your team. It's so important. And I think for me, I'll be a little personal here. Like it wasn't until the aha moment happened that I was like, holy guacamole. Like I've been living like on this financial plane, and really there was all this other assets going on.
Yeah.
Oh, um, I'm
Yeah.
sure you see that. I'm sure you see the fraudulent, the hiding, the betrayal, the abuse of finances.
Yeah, it's a real problem. And I think, the unfortunate thing is that people don't want to talk about it. And it's one of those things where I think at the end of the day, right? Women go into these situations and they're led to believe, they're led to believe that like, hey, we're really struggling or my business is not doing as well as, maybe you think or whatever. I was working with another client who her kids were getting ready to go off to college. And so over the years, right, they have changed the FAFSA form where you can be, typing in information, filling out information, and it auto populates
I love
the
this.
income
I
on the
love it.
income,
I love this.
right? And so she's sitting there, and all of a sudden it auto populates from their last year's tax return because they filed joint, which is the key, right? And so all of a sudden she's sitting there and she calls me and she goes, Rhonda, his income is like 5 times what I was led to believe that it is. Well, so anybody that's listening to this, if you have kids that are going to be going to college, you raise your hand to say, I'll fill out the FAFSA. I know it's like nobody wants to do that darn form, right? It's painstaking, but there's some silver lining in it. And that is if you can pull the information in to either confirm that the income is what you thought it was or uncover something, you're now in a position, right, to have more information than you had in the beginning. And most people aren't going to know that. The guys are not going to be like, oh, I don't want you doing that because it's going to pull in my info. You're like, listen, I got it. I'll take care of, filling out this form because I know you're busy. You just play the card with them.
Right. Well, for me, it was stipulated the FAFSA was on my income. And then there was so much pushback. So this is such a pearl of wisdom. Like this is like the keys to the kingdom because it was always done on my income. And now, like that's the aha moment. Of course, he didn't want the FAFSA to be shared because there was so much duplicity. There was so
Yeah.
much hiding.
Yeah.
So sad. I was talking to someone, a client, and I think, because you and I are, I feel like you're like the head, like the facts and figures and know how to manage that. And I'm more like, not that we're not connected, but I'm more the heart, like, oh my God, that hurt, that finding out this revelation and everything. And it was the same common theme, about betrayal, about the aha moment when you thought you were the team and you're not the team. you know, you just did and did and did. And then there's a moment when some partners, they forget that you were the one to help facilitate this lifestyle that you jointly created, and then it becomes theirs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I love that you empower women to erase that, etch a sketch that thought that it's not his. My ex-husband had me believing I had my own company, I had my own house when we were married. So I was not a dependent woman. And then we worked together on this
Yeah.
company that at the end it was his. This is mine. This is mine. You hear this song. We both hear this song.
I know it's really sad, and I think, the unfortunate part of it that goes along with that, Kristen, is when the women have been, you know, beat down, right?
Yeah.
Emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, and so then for them to advocate for themselves, and then, once they do have that aha, then they feel a lot of shame around not seeing it. It's like, listen, at the end of the day, we can't do anything about that. except move forward. And women have that defining opportunity to say, listen, I don't have to just, right, go through the motions. And I think, it's interesting because when I started my business 11 years ago, what I really wanted to do is to be able to help have women walk through this process and not just be like, I just am I just have to get through it and then I'll be fine. No, we have an opportunity and a window, right, to walk with them through this process so that when we get to the end, when they get to the end, I can see the transformation and the confidence. And they are in a much stronger, renewed position to be able to move forward. And I've taught them how to think. I mean, I there's I could crunch numbers all day. I could provide them reports all day. But if the women don't understand what the reports mean to them or for them,
Right.
I'm not doing them any favors because I have a window in which I can say, here's how I want you to think about this. I want you to be able to ask really good questions. I want you to be able to, when you get new information, say, huh, isn't that interesting? What's going on here? Let me explore. Let me ask them additional questions.
Right.
And and I also tell them, listen, you don't have to know everything. You just got to
Yeah.
know really smart people that can help you in the meantime. And you need to be able to ask really good questions. And I give them, I'll give them some examples because here's the thing, right? At the end of the day, when I look at the transformation that has happened for me over the years, a lot of people will say, Rhonda, have you gone through divorce? And the answer is no, I have not. However, when you do the soul searching and you find yourself drawn to this group of people, you're like, what is it about this group? To be honest with you, the reason that I'm working with women that are going through divorce is because after doing the soul searching, I realized I hate abuse. I hate abuse at my core. And there's a lot of reasons why I hate abuse, right? I grew up in an alcoholic home. There was a lot of things that I brought into my adult life that I had to deal with. And the finances were no exception because my dad was addicted to gambling as well. And so you have a lot of trauma
Yes.
around money that you're like, okay, I got to try to figure this out. So in my
Right.
early 20s, I started in the financial industry and I was surrounded by a lot of really successful people who I really saw that they challenged my mindset and my paradigm. And it wasn't, oh, here's a bunch of people that are really successful and have a lot of money and they're terrible human beings. No, it was, here's a bunch of people that have worked really hard. And yes, they have a lot of money and they're serving people.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's not what I was taught to believe. Like, if you have more, it was like, no, if you have more money, it makes you more of who you already were in the first place. So if you just magnify that. It's not like, oh, I now become a terrible human being because I have more money. That's not how that works. And so I had to challenge my own paradigms, walk through that. Um, but ultimately, that's the thing. It's the abuse that really I'm like, listen, no. And even as a kid, I was the one who was very much an advocate. Like I wanted to be able to like do what was right, and I wanted to be able to see, fight for the people that. And so you see those kind of like threads on how God's wired you over the years, and you're like,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know what? I think I can put this to some really good use. And so it's been great. And I've been able to have success in my own money story and my own trauma around money that has helped me be successful. So I understand that journey. Um, I understand, overcoming those mindset challenges as people are going through, tough
Right.
situations, you know.
Right. I love that because I think I just wrote down rewrite your money story because what you're just sharing is that's what you did. You reconnected your neural net in your brain that you re overrode that money story that you were taught through trauma. And I think that's what you bring today to help women rewrite their money trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a lot. I mean, it's a process. It takes time. But I think it's really important to highlight, Kristen, like women are smart, okay?
Okay.
At the end of the day, it's not about, well, he's smart. Like I was on a call yesterday and she's like, well, my husband's really smart and he's got an MBA. And I was like, and I don't care. I mean,
Yeah,
that's great, but
yeah.
it's not like, oh, he's so much smarter and I'm not. No, that's the story you're telling yourself. And you can lean into this. You can ask good questions. You can make financial decisions, well-informed, empowered decisions because you ask really good questions,
I
right?
I love that because what she told you in that sentence is probably what he said to her over and over again
Exactly.
in their marriage to make you feel less than, to
I
make
know.
you forget who you truly are. It was the post divorce financial abuse that was perpetuated for me for years.
Yeah.
The it 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 is playing the long game and being smart about it. And I think that for my clients, when I talk to them, it's like just remembering who you were, removing all that
Yeah.
funky energy and remembering, like I had another guest on and we were talking about how some women didn't even know how to, lost the ability to order what they wanted to eat because of their deferential energy within the
Mm.
relationship of, like coercive control. And I love how you just gave that pep talk without even knowing that you said to her, you ask great questions and you know what you're doing. And let's go, sister. Let's get this
Exactly.
on, game on.
Yeah.
You're not an undeserving opponent. You got this game. You got it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true though. I mean, that's what I love about this. And I think, again, once women can start to have, right, especially when they're in a real fragile spot, the women, the team, right, that can come around and say, listen, we believe in you. Okay.
Yeah.
We've been able to help a lot of other people that are in a very similar spot and let us help you. you
Right.
know I love that. I love it. And I think, at the end of the day, when we get to the end of the process, for me, once the divorce is over and we kind of get things wrapped up and they're kind of on their way, then I'm starting that process over with somebody else. But I feel so grateful when we get to see, we get to the end and I'm like, holy cow, you are not the same person.
Isn't that lovely? I just love it.
I love
It's like
that.
a rebirth. It's like a rebirth that you
Mm,
watch them not necessarily go back to who they were, but just like, oh, phew. I'm just gonna I'm moving forward. I'm doing
yeah,
it's
yeah,
wonderful.
it's
I
really good.
I love our opportunity to speak and your passion and I think that saying the women are going to save the world, like we're just clearing out all the unnecessary BS of separation or duality and making it, united. Like you and
Yeah.
I had a conversation before we're live here that I said, I don't believe in competition because I want to be a service. And that's, you echo that within your practice also. So can
Yeah,
I ask you a
it's
question before we wrap up? Like
yeah.
from this, how have you evolved from
Mm,
starting this company to now? Like, have you seen the stories change? Is there a common thread? Is it, how have you evolved by being
mm,
such a strong witness for other women?
yeah. Wow, this is such a great question. Like I kind of have goosebumps with it. People don't normally ask me this question. So, I love that. It's interesting because when I would say I went from being like having the passion, the desire to help people, but not being as bold as I am today. So I've always had a very determined personality. But
Uh-huh.
when I first started my company, I was like, okay, we've got this company. Nobody else is really doing what I'm doing. I need a proof of concept. And so I'd have so many people that were like, where were you 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Man, I could have
Right,
used your help, blah, blah, blah.
right.
And so you start to say, okay, I'm confident in the idea. But now what I need to do is be confident to show up in these conversations and not get rattled when somebody is pushing back or, being difficult or whatever. So for me, I guess the best word is bold. We actually, within the last 6 months, went through a rebrand.
Okay.
And we went from, so my company original name was Women's Financial Wellness Center, and we rebranded to Divorce or Financial Divorce Advocate. And so there's this aspect of, listen, I'm going all in on I advocate for women, and we're going to show up in a bold, confident, yet kind way. And it's been really cool. So that for me has been going all in on being bold.
I love that. That it's kind of the wisdom is bold for you. Like you are bold. Like that was
Yeah.
probably one of not in, and I think us women shrink away from that.
Yeah.
But boldness is wisdom in power.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
joined a group, then we're going to meet again, monthly, all these wonderful women. And my word was unstoppable.
Mm,
And I wrote that down. I was like, I'm not used to being bold and I forgot I was unstoppable.
mm. I love that.
I love bold. I love it. I so
Yeah, and it's interesting,
is
right?
it?
Because the branding reflected it. Like we went from more like calming, like neutral palette to very vibrant, right? Like the pink and the blue and like really, really beautiful, bright colors. And that originally I was like, huh, wow. I mean, it took me a little bit to kind of like really embrace it. And then once we did, I was like, yeah, this is the right call. Um,
But when
but
I
yeah,
look at that, I still feel healing. Like I love
very
your
much so.
brand. Yeah, the colors are still bold but healing. I love it.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah,
gonna
it's
have to.
very
I'm gonna put that with everything we promote the video. Your new branding. I love
thank you. Yeah, thank
it.
you. No, really appreciate it. It's been really fun. And again, those are just examples of the internal, like you were saying, with the changes that were happening. It was like, hey, I'm already advocating. I'm already being bold. I've outgrown the old brand.
I
And
love.
now it's time to, and embrace the new one.
I'm not that it matters, but I'm so proud of you.
I love that. Like, no, I appreciate
You.
that.
I
I
love.
appreciate that.
I'm so grateful for all these brilliant women that are coming on this little series and sharing. It's not little, but I'm just so grateful because I think for so often we're like doing our things or orbiting around each other, but
Yeah,
connecting it is so powerful.
agree.
I wish I had you 10 years ago, 15 years
Me
ago.
too.
I think life would have been different for a little bit. But thank you so much. And everything will be connected to Rhonda's website underneath all the videos and promotion and financial financial pain can be helped quickly when you build your team and you have Rhonda on your team. So you don't have to be in pain about finances. It's going to be okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
honey.
Thank you.